I've been playing SpongeBob games for basically my entire life. Long enough that I could trace the start of my YouTube career all the way back to a SpongeBob retrospective series. So while I was forming my gaming taste playing the likes of Majora's Mask or Ratchet & Clank, right up there was the SpongeBob movie game and Battle for Bikini Bottom. So SpongeBob games did raise me, or at least they taught me that licensed games didn't always have to be complete crap. And for me, the peak was always the SpongeBob movie game. That was the one I played to death as a kid, but Battle for Bikini Bottom was right up there beside it, and that weird little cult classic that just kept getting better with age because of the speedrunning community. I don't know, it just had legs that I never expected it to ever have. So when Purple Lamp stepped in with Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated and then with the Cosmic Shake, it really felt like the franchise was in the hands of people who understood why these games mattered. But here's the thing, I went back to the Cosmic Shake right before diving into Titans of the Tide, and it wasn't quite how I remembered. It was still good, still charming, still very SpongeBob, but the linearity was more noticeable. The platforming does have a small bit of jank to it, especially with that glide ability, and the nostalgia, even though it's recent nostalgia I had for it, was kind of fighting with the reality of what it was like actually playing it again. So going into Titans of the Tide, I was hoping that Purple Lamp had ironed out those issues. Now again, Cosmic Shake is still a great game, but I would have liked to see certain things tightened up. And in almost every single way they did do it, but I would like to point out that Titans of the Tide is actually a very, very short game. Look, I'm not going to sit here and bore you with plot details or any of that crap. If you want to know any of that, just go play the game or watch some trailers. You'll understand. It's basically the Flying Dutchman and King Neptune are battling it out, and that's how the game starts. Where I want to start this though is on those controls that I mentioned earlier and how much tighter they feel. The jump from the Cosmic Shake to this game is honestly insane. And don't get me wrong, as I will keep reiterating, Cosmic Shake is still a great platform. I loved it. But when you go straight from playing the Cosmic Shake onto Titans of the Tide, you will notice the difference instantly. The biggest culprit in the Cosmic Shake was the glide, and it's mostly with how it was activated. It felt like sometimes it would take, half a second to activate longer than I expected it to. You would press one jump and then double jump and hold it, but it wouldn't go out the way you wanted it to, or sometimes, I don't know. There was just something very off about using that glide, and I didn't really notice it when I reviewed Cosmic Shake back in the day, but now, after playing Titans of the Tide, I can see what a proper glide in a SpongeBob game feels like, and they tightened it up so much better, because your glide is really important. It's your safety net, it's the precision tool, the thing that you can use to correct your jumps or go across big gaps, so it is a massive, massive part. And the thing is, with Cosmic Shake and Battle for Bikini Bottom, a lot of these issues never really became issues because they weren't super precise platformers. They were rarely put to the test. I guess at the end of Battle for Bikini Bottom, with the SpongeBob's Dreams and those sorts of levels, things did start to fall through the cracks. You realize that, okay, yes, Battle for Bikini Bottom, still a fun game, but when you have to do intricate platforming maneuvers and timing, it just doesn't hold up to its other contemporaries at the time. But then you get on to Titans of the Tide, and this is where Purple Lamp finally said, okay, let us finally tweak the mechanics in a SpongeBob game, because almost every single SpongeBob game always had some level of jank. So in Titans of the Tide, you can freely switch between SpongeBob and Patrick at any time. Their base kit is the same. They can jump, they can glide, they can attack, but their special abilities are completely different. SpongeBob has the homing karate kick and the bubble wand, and Patrick gets a slingshot and the ability to pick up and throw objects. And for this, I want to use a clip from the Cosmic Shake just to show you exactly what I mean. So in this section in the Cosmic Shake, I'm using SpongeBob to do some quick platforming. Now, it's not super precise, it's not really that dangerous, but here you can see I have to change some jumps into a homing kick to hit these balloons to collect the gold coin at the end. And it's doable, it really is. But even going back and playing it now, there's just something off. It feels 10-15% off. It felt like I wasn't completely, fully in control. And that feeling in Titans of the Tide is just gone. It just simply doesn't exist, because there are some intricate platforming sections. Now, you don't have to do them the way I did them. I deliberately wanted to put it to the test and see, can I stay in the air for longer than I need to, or maybe I can complete this platforming challenge slightly quicker than the game wants me to, this sort of stuff. You don't have to do it like this, but at any given moment, you will be doing a lot of button presses in these platforming sequences. So SpongeBob's wand can be used to flip switches, to open doors. It can be used to hit things off in the distance to change the color of the lamp so that a different platform shows up. And then his homing kick is exactly that. You home onto a balloon, which is great for more platforming sections. But then you can also swap midair at any time to Patrick, and he has a slingshot that could be used to pull open platforms, or he might have a throw ability where he picks up one of those lamps that then changes the color of the platforms. And the amount of platforming sections you have where you are swapping between these on the fly. Maybe you will jump and you'll jump onto a jump pad, and then while you're midair, you have to throw a bubble to open something, and then swap to Patrick to do something else, and then you land, and then you burrow under the ground to launch up into the air, and as you launch up into the air, you might need to swap to SpongeBob to whip out his bubble wand again, or you might even just have to stay as Patrick to slingshot a platform open. But it just feels right. And I kind of hate using that when I'm talking about games, because just saying like it feels right, what the fuck does that mean? But it genuinely is. Once you play the Cosmic Shake or Battle for Bikini Bottom and then go straight onto Titans of the Tide, you realize, oh, this is actually a very, very good platformer. And near the end of the game, a lot of these combos are really put to the test, and so far I haven't 100% of the game. There's still like extra challenges after. So far they're really holding up. Smoothness in controls extends to the combat, because I mean, it's a SpongeBob game, it's a 3D platformer. Combat isn't that important. Very few 3D platformers get combat right. It's either, okay, it's passable, or this doesn't feel good. And I would say in the likes of Battle for Bikini Bottom, it was really, really basic. It was fine. And then in the Cosmic Shake, again, it was basic. The homie kick didn't feel as good as you wanted it to. They kind of had some pacing issues in the combat, because there'd be a lot of enemies that you have to wait for their combos to wind down. Like, say, the big guy with the bathtub or whatever, he'd have to like spin around 3 times, and then you'd be able to hit him once, and then you have to bait out the attack again, then you'd be able to hit him again. So there was a lot of pacing issues, and eventually I did just give up on the combat, because I'm like, do I really want to have to do this again? Like, I only did the combat sections that I was forced to do. Whereas in Titans of the Tide, even though again it's a basic combat system, you can chain things together so easily. You have enemies that launch like cannonballs, and then Patrick can slingshot them out of the air and throw them back at them, or you can pick up another enemy and slingshot them back towards it. And the lock-on works really well. You're never missing your target or miss-hitting, or something's fecking up. Or if you're SpongeBob, you can just use your glide kick, or you can hit them with your bubble wand, and it is so slick. And I think everything else, there's still a lot to talk about with this game, is that feeling of the game just feeling great to play has made me just extremely happy, because SpongeBob games for my whole life were 3D platformers that were solid, but I think if I wasn't into SpongeBob and I didn't like the humor, I didn't like the characters, then it would be like, okay, this is a totally fine game. Probably not really worth playing unless you're a SpongeBob fan, whereas this is just a really fun platformer on top of being a great SpongeBob game. And the next thing that sort of grinded me down on my replay of Cosmic Shake, now I didn't beat it this time around, I'd already beaten the game twice, and there's a reason for that, is that in the Cosmic Shake, the levels are extremely linear, and they're not bad, they're fine levels, but they're just really narrative heavy, that going through them again starts to feel like you're being pushed down a very narrow hallway with SpongeBob dialogue acting like a tour guide, and you end up with a very story-ish heavy platformer where there's always something getting in your way. Like, the dialogue is great, but on a second or third playthrough hearing that same dialogue, it can get just kind of annoying, and all you want to do is just play the game, but they kind of always get in your way with little cutscenes or dialogue or characters talking to each other. And from my replay as well, some of the levels outstayed or welcome, specifically the karate level. It just felt like it was maybe 10 or 15 minutes too long, and there was maybe 1 or 2 sections that I was like, why is this here? You're just almost repeating what I just did. This isn't adding much to the experience. And it just felt like you were being funneled, and there wasn't really any reason to go off the beaten path, and not really that there was, you know, a side track to go down. They were extremely linear. And then when you go later on the Cosmic Shake and you unlock all the abilities, then you can go back and do some more stuff in the level. But I don't know, I really dislike it, similar to Ukulele earlier on the year. Like, I hate having to go back to levels like the way you used to expand it in the original Ukulele. I'd much rather have the majority of my tools. Like, fair enough, you might get 1 or 2 power-ups, but your first run through almost all the levels in the Cosmic Shake, you are just going from point A to B, and then afterwards you go back and you do the side stuff, of which there actually isn't that much. And that's the one thing that Titans of the Tide actually does do a much better job with. The levels are still narrative focused, they're still linear with some set pieces and jokes and the cutscenes, And I think that's just part of Purple Lamp's style now, and they get that so right with the animations and the writing and the tone and the comedy. But this time the game gives you little stretches of non-linearity that break up the pacing in a really, really natural way. The first level, on paper, there's really only one path forward, but it feels open. You start, you're on the beach, you can explore the beach, there's a rock you can climb, there's some side quests that you can start. You can't finish them because you need power-ups, but you can start them, and then eventually you get a surfboard, and then you can explore the rest of the level. So it doesn't feel like you're penned in straight away. And like later on, there's another level in the jellyfish fields, and you start and it's an open section that you can just run around and have some fun and collect some side objectives. And I think they just got that side of the pacing so much better. But then as you're exploring even the linear sections, there's things to find. You have side quests that you do, which are usually find this item for this character, go back to them, talk to them, whatever. You might get a costume. But then you have chests that have items inside that unlock more costumes or like statues for the home base. And then on top of that, there's a side quest to find 100 jellyfish. So as you're going around the level, you will find jellyfish. So you're kind of always on the lookout for things. Whereas with my replay of the Cosmic Shake, felt like I was just going through the levels just because that's where the game was leading me. It wasn't really leading me organically to anything that I wanted to do or wanted to find. It was more just, okay, this is a narrative platformer, and that's fine, but I much prefer to have a bit of openness in my platformers. And just like with anything on this channel, I guess this was mostly about pacing, level design, mechanics, because that is just what I like to focus on. But I think since this is a retro and nostalgia channel, obviously we all love SpongeBob if you're watching this, and we grew up watching SpongeBob. But I just have to talk about how happy this game makes me, because who would have thought that in 2025 we wouldn't only have a remake of Battle for Bikini Bottom, we wouldn't have a brand new SpongeBob game, we'd actually have 2 brand new SpongeBob games, and they are all extremely solid games, and each one is getting better than the last. And in the era of Game Mill Entertainment just shitting out licensed games, and some of them can be okay, like I played a bit of Dice of Destiny, and that's actually a fine game, it's actually pretty fun. But in that era where we are getting all of these terrible, I will repeat that word 25 times over, we are getting awful licensed games. It's nice to know that there are still companies and developers and publishers that understand how to make a good, not just a good game, because that's what this game is. It is a great game, but a great licensed game of a license that I absolutely adore. So I am very, very happy to recommend Titans of the Tide. The only thing is, Titans of the Tide is a short game. I would say I have no more than 5 hours in the game, and it could even be less than that, because it feels like there should be at least one more level. At least, if not 2. Because by the time the game finished, I was like, oh, I think I would enjoy another level. Maybe 2 levels. Because 1 level kind of feels like 2 already. So you're kind of getting a bit shafted. I don't know, it's up to you. I still wouldn't mind. I mean, physically over here, it's only €35. I don't mind that. Platformers are always better off being shorter than longer. Because there's nothing worse than a platformer that outstays its welcome, because they just get very annoying. Whereas here, it still does need another level or 2. So it is kind of a shame. But what is there is absolutely fantastic. And the animations are just so great. It's just so colourful, just so vibrant. And yeah, just had a great time playing it. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that it's good. Because I kind of was put off a tiny bit by the Cosmic Shake going into it, thinking, oh, maybe the Cosmic Shake's still good, but I don't think it's as good as I remember, you know? Whereas I think maybe I might change my mind in 2 or 3 years, but I think right now, this is the best SpongeBob game ever made. And probably by a long shot. Now, I did say that about Cosmic Shake back in the day, and I have not done a 180, but I've definitely, my opinion has changed. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.